Hi folks, Puffin here with your Antifa news Briefa for today's, tomorrow's, and yesterday's news. The reason I'm calling it that is because I just was in a conversation with people about 9/11 and how on 9/10, September 10th, 2001, the news had come out that Gore won the Florida recount. That Gore was going to be your president if, you redid things. Now this is important now because Trump's lying and saying that he should be president if you redo things. And that's today's news, meaning it's still night here in Colorado, but in Washington, D.C., it's daytime, August 18th, and they're planning another Trump insurrection today. Hopefully they'll stop it. But we don't know what today's news will bring. Now, way back then, 20 years ago, when the news came out that Gore won Florida, I was thinking, what's tomorrow's news going to be? Because back in those days, we had, news cycles like a day long. You wondered what the news would be tomorrow. And so I thought, well, what will the news be tomorrow? On September 10th, I was like, what will the news be tomorrow? Who will be president tomorrow? And unfortunately, it was Bush. And, they had the September 11th attacks, and nobody was talking about the recount anymore. It was, on to the next thing. And that was unfortunate or part of the plan, depending on how all this unravels now that they're finally declassifying some September 11th stuff. Anyway, and it's obvious that Bush was covering something up that Trump also worked really hard to cover up, and Obama and Clinton did their share to help cover up as well. But, some of them might be more guilty than others. Point being that today we have some news yet to develop about what will happen with their next attempt at a Trump insurrection, January 6th, take two, on August 16th. And we have news that just came out yesterday about the drone strike in Afghanistan that killed 10 people, innocent people, aid worker and his family apparently. What's particularly odd to me, of course it takes a while for the military to admit mistakes like that, and in this case it took many days for them to admit that. Sometimes it takes way longer than that. But they did admit that mistake and are apologetic for it. That news came out today. But what was odd to me about it is how in comments on YouTube, Trumpers were immediately saying, this is who that killed. Now, do they have some secret chain of information? Their information generally isn't good. But in this case, do they have a secret chain of information because they knew not something on the ground from people who could, because once you blow something up, it might take a while to get that evidence to people. But if they knew from the people who tipped the American military off to strike that target, if that's how the Trumpers knew, if that's a connection with the Taliban, and that's particularly interesting right now as well, because just yesterday or day before the news came out that part of Larry Elder losing the recall, or I guess it came out that, the day before the recall, the news came out that Larry Elder had already put on his website that the election was a fraud and that Gavin Newsom had already won it the day before the election even happened. So it goes to show they have these tools for manipulating the way people think things are. Like, here's the link you can go to report fraud. But they released their tool before the election even happened. They got too eager and released the tool. It reminds you a little bit about Covfefe. If when Trump said Covfefe back in March or May 21st, 2017, I believe, if he really just had some information on COVID and was speaking too soon, oh, right, we're not supposed to release COVID for 2 more years, but he knew about it and it was on his mind and he tweeted about it or something. Anyway, these things that they have and they're over eager and tip their hand too early. So if these Trumpers were too eager to point out, oh, Joe Biden didn't drone a terrorist, he droned this aid worker, and they were pointing it out within minutes of it happening or hours of it happening, and we really just didn't have any confirmation of that or really any other channels to know that information for a few days at least, or many days, then these Trumpers must have been in on it. So that's the thing. They're whole gloating and thinking they can, pull one over on somebody. is ultimately going to be the evidence that they're in on it, that they're in it with the Taliban. Just like, the Taliban taking over the country of Afghanistan was orchestrated by Hamid Karzai, who was Bush's appointee, and so on and so forth. And if they do anything today, it will be similar to that, similar to the last time when they had some inside help from Capitol Police and Congress people like Lauren Boebert here in Colorado. So these people need to be arrested. Trump needs to be arrested, Boebert, various other Congress traitors, Senate traitors, and then just these rank and file people as well. And people who have infiltrated the police and maybe the entire FBI. This is the look we're looking at, and some of this stuff will become apparent today. So today is the day, August 18th, when they're going to test some of the response to another insurrection attempt. And we've already seen it before, and we've heard the excuses before, and we've all been kind of paying more attention this time, even though enough people were paying attention last time. They shouldn't be able to get away with, oh, we didn't know. It's like Zuckerberg saying, oh, I don't really think our my platform's affecting the election that much. It totally is. Like, you have to accept that. Like, not just that it did, but that he knew it did, and all he was doing was lying. So, usually they get caught in the lie, but there's a lot of catching when you got to catch up with. So, let's all hope for the best and work for the best. Use your best words and best magic, best prayers to make the best thing come true. And let's talk about it so that they don't get away with this stuff anymore. And stay posted. See you soon. Thanks for watching.